So the question came up, what's the difference between these numbers and integers? And it's a great question. So hopefully this visual will help you. We've got numbers, and all numbers are called real numbers. And then in the real numbers, we have two different categories. The first one is the rational numbers, and the second one is the irrational numbers. So we're going to take a look at the rational numbers, and we can see that we have these bubbles here. And so we go into the smallest bubble, the one at the bottom. Those are the numbers that we first learn. That's the smallest group of numbers. And these are called our natural or counting numbers. So as children, we first learn to count on our fingers. So we start with our thumb. And we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So these are our natural or counting numbers. And then after that, we learn whole numbers. So the whole numbers include all our natural or counting numbers, but we learn about the concept of zero. So even as kids, we don't understand zero until we understand 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So whole numbers include the natural numbers, but also now have the number 0. And after whole numbers comes the integers. So integers include all the natural or counting numbers, include all the whole numbers, including 0, but now we get onto the negative side. We learn the opposites. So not only do we learn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 0, we now learn -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. And after integers, we have the big group, the rational numbers, which includes all our natural numbers, includes all our whole numbers, includes all our integers, and also has the decimals and the fractions. So any number that can be written whole number, negative number, positive number, decimal, fraction, these are our rational numbers. If you look at the decimals for rational numbers, they typically will have a pattern or they will terminate. So for example, in the middle here it says 2.7 or 7.0145. Those are both terminating decimals, so they have an end, or decimals that have a pattern like repeater decimals, like 2.66666. We can say 2.6 repeater. Those fit in the rational number category. Irrational numbers are numbers that we would never memorize, but they're decimals that typically will have no set pattern or will not end. So we see lots of square roots here with decimals where we'll get a decimal on our calculator and we don't even know if it ends or not because our calculator only has so much space. Irrational numbers can be negative, can be positive, but they're basically those strange numbers where we don't see a set pattern or we don't have a decimal that ever ends. Pi, which we use later on, that's 3.14. If we think about pi, a lot of people know that as 3.14. Well, that's only the beginning of pi. Pi is a decimal that never ends. So I hope this gives you a good overview of real numbers and the groupings that make up rational numbers and what irrational numbers are too.